This is the underside of my left wing for my Murphy Renegade, which is just over the back, just over the back, just over the back there. Today's exercise is to install this panel onto the wing with screws and anchor nuts. The drawings call for PK screws or self-tapping type screws. I can't bring myself to put that into an aeroplane at all, I'm afraid. So what I'm going to do, so forget that one, I'm going to use this one, which is an number 8 gauge with a series of anchor nuts. Now, just on the subject of anchor nuts, I've got a few here to choose from. This is the typical one that I want to use. It's a 2-legged anchor nut. It's 8 gauge, so it'll fit that screw. That screw fits perfectly. It has like a self-locking feature as well that it's vibration proof, so the screw won't come out. In some places you may need to use an anchor nut like this one, which the threaded part is all up the left-hand end there. It's riveted on with the 2 holes in the right-hand side. These are a 1-legged anchor nut. It's the same, it's 8 gauge as well. This one, it's similar to the previous one in that it's got the threaded portion up one end and the riveted portion up the other end. The difference here is this is a floating anchor nut. The threaded portion can move around within some confines. These are more expensive. This is probably more than $1. These ones are probably about 15 cents, maybe 25 cents. These ones more like 15 cents or 12 cents. Okay, so you can get miniature ones. You can get miniature 1-legged anchor nuts as well, like this little fella. They're a little bit more difficult to work with, but he's 8 gauge as well. So all of those will fit this screw. Yeah, that's an 8 gauge screw. This one, it's a bit different. It's probably a few dollars worth. This is more military. It has a nylock arrangement, like a nylock nut. It's still a 1-legged anchor nut. It's still riveted on up one end, but it takes a bigger screw. It takes a 10 gauge, which is what this little bolt is. This bolt's a 1032. That means 10 gauge, 32 threads per inch. And it'll, of course, screw into or allow the bolt to be screwed into it, like that. Okay, we're not going to use this one. I'm just showing you. And yeah, the radio traffic this afternoon, we've got an air show on here tomorrow, so there'll be aeroplanes arriving all afternoon. So I might, if it gets too bad, I'll turn the radio off. But that's step 1. We're going to install those anchor nuts on each of these places, all the way around here where there's a cleco, and I'll go ahead and show you how to install an anchor nut. It's pretty simple, but you just need to see it once, okay? Now, for the purposes of the exercise, and so that I don't bore you to tears, I'm just going to show these 3. That one, and that one. This one and this one should be normal 2-legged anchor nut, but this one, there's no place for the second leg, so he's going to have to be the single-legged anchor nut, and I'll show you how to do those 3, how to install those 3. Okay, so let's have a look at it. All these holes have been located. Yep, they're in the right place. They're lined up in straight line and everything else, and they're all drilled out to 1/8. All right, this is the panel from here that will receive the anchor nuts. The anchor nuts are going to go in there, there, and there, those three positions. Okay, that's all we're going to do. I'm not going to bore you with all the other anchor nuts. I'll do them afterwards. But I've drilled a 1/8 hole. That's fairly important. That those three holes, well, all of the holes here now are 1/8, but those three in particular are 1/8. Let's have a look at why that is. This is fairly much where the anchor nuts are going to go. Yeah, but the anchor nuts are going to go on the other side, but I put them on this side so I can see where I'm going to drill the holes that attach them. Yeah, so I'll start drilling those holes now, or shortly. All right, I've brought them over here to the workbench. Just makes drilling a little bit easier. I'm using my windy drill, my air drill, with a long series drill bit. This is a 6-inch drill bit. And what we're going to do is, I've made sure the anchor nuts are all, you can't see them very well, I've made sure the anchor nuts are lined up, more or less parallel with this edge. It's just for professionalism. You could have them all higgly-piggly all over the place and it'd look just unprofessional. So if we just line one up and drill it, we can do that with, this is the single leg one, remember? What we can do is we can put a cleco now in each of those. That's a size 332 drill, which is the small one. And we're going to rivet these on in a minute with countersink solid rivets. So I'll just grab the clecos. There's 3 silver clecos, and we'll whack them in there. Come off. So the anchor nuts won't move now that they're locked in. While we drill the second hole. Whoops, can't see what I'm doing. Okay, then we can drill the other hole, the second hole in each leg. One there. One here. This might be a bit more difficult. No, not at all. And one here. All right, now, like I said, that's correct, but they're on the wrong side. They need to be under here. So we'll do that next. We'll put them in the right. Actually, what we'll do is we'll take it off and deburr it. Okay, remember this tool from previous videos, the deburring tool? We're just deburring the small holes. Yeah, these small ones. No need, you can deburr the big ones if you like, but there's no need to because they're not full size yet. The the screw we're intending to use, the 8-gauge screw, won't fit through that big hole yet. We've got to make that hole bigger. So there's really only need to deburr the small holes because they're the ones that are... There we go. Right. There's those ones deburred, these ones deburred. I don't need to show you this. You've got it, I'm quite sure. You should be able to run your fingers along there without hurting yourself, without running the risk of cutting yourself. And there they are. That's where the anchor nuts are going to go. But remember, this piece here sits on top of this piece here. You can't see very well because there's reflection all over the place. So we can't really have anything sticking up here, otherwise the two pieces won't fit together properly. So this is where countersinking comes in. Except this material is only 16 thousandths of an inch thick. So if we tried to countersink it, we would wind up with nothing. It would just eat all the material away and the rivet wouldn't hold in there. So we need to dimple. Dimple is a type of countersinking. But what it does is it puts a dent in the material and doesn't remove any material. These are my Tatco, if you can read that, it says Tatco, rivet squeezers. In this case I've got dimple dies, they're called, these things here, which are going to cause a dimple in the skin where we want to put the rivets. So remember, we've deburred these, so they're nice and ready, nice and clean and ready to go, and the dimple needs to face that way. So we put them in this tool, squeeze the handles together, and there you go, there's a perfect dimple. And the same, remember this is a one-legged one over here, there's the same. Come on. You just want to be a little bit careful with this one, that he clears the jaws properly, which he does now. This one, I'm not squeezing like crazy, it's quite easy. It's only 16 thousandths, the size, thickness of a soft drink can. There we are there. Now, we'll try and find a rivet, which it's got to be the first time in living history that there's no rivet on the bench, but anyway, I've got a whole box of them here. These are the rivets. They're solid rivets, they're called, and they're countersunk ones. We're going to use a good wad of those. We'll put them out here. They come in different lengths. You can hardly read it, but these are sized, the way rivets are measured is they're measured in diameter in 30/2 of an inch. So these are threes, they're 3 30/2 of an inch in diameter. And the length is measured in, sixteenths. Yeah, sixteenths. So this is 3/16. There's 3/16 there. The rivet is 3/16. So diameter in 30/2, length in 16ths. And because it's countersunk, it measures from the head, from the top of the head to the end, and that's 3/16. Okay, and what I was going to show you, wherever we are, is that rivet should fit perfectly into that dimple, which it does. Look at that, absolutely superb. Yeah, so we'll still have a nice flat surface for this other one to sit on once those rivets are installed. Yeah, piece of cake. However, one more thing. The anchor nuts are not countersunk. The anchor nuts here's one of the ones we used to drill just now. They're flat, so we really need to make them dimpled as well. And believe it or not, this dimple tool will dimple those anchor nuts also. So we put it in the old Tatco, give it a squeeze. It's got a little bit more difficult to squeeze this time than the 1/16 aluminium skin, but that's okay. We've managed to put a couple of dimples into the anchor nut as well. So now, when the anchor nut's offered up to the skin here, he should fit sort of perfectly. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? No, I know it's not amazing at all. That's how it's meant to be. Yeah, so then we can put one of these in, and there's our anchor nut. Put another one of those, as a matter of fact. Like right there. Right, perfect. We're not quite ready to rivet it on yet, because remember, the screw, wherever he is, has to go through that hole. And of course he doesn't fit just yet, because the hole's not big enough. So we need to put these two pieces back together again, this one and this big one. They need to be put back together, and those holes made full size now. Yeah, at least these 3 holes. We're only talking about those 3 holes. Let's try that. Here are the two panels put back together again. Still with the 1/8 holes. These brown coloured Clecos are the giveaway that they're 1/8 holes. Let's start. We're just going to do these 3, remember? Let's start with this one. Oh, and there's a clamp in there. You've probably seen these clamps before. I love them. They're really, really good. Really good. I'm going to use the battery drill this time. All we've got to do is open up those holes that are going where the screws are going to go, like that one. I do actually have Cleco that will fit in that hole now. Matter of fact, I'll grab one of those. Yep, remember these from a previous video? These are 3/16 Clecos. The hole's not quite 3/16, but this, I'm pretty sure this Cleco is going to fit anyway. And, well, almost. Yeah, it will fit if you sort of force it a little bit. I'll take the other 2 out to full size for the screws. There's another one there. And put one of those in. And the lucky last. Okay. Now we can deburr those 3 holes that I just drilled. They're not going to be dimpled or countersunk or anything, but they're up to their final size. So this can all come apart. I don't lose a finger first, we should be right. Okay, then we can deburr those 3 holes. My little windy deburring tool. There, and the 3 on the other side as well. There. See, I'm feeling each time to make sure that they're smooth. We're not trying to countersink these holes. We don't want to keep winding and winding and winding until you know we've wound up with a countersunk hole. All we're trying to do is take the burrs off. And these three the same. 1, 2, 3, and the same on the other side. Right, now all we've got to do is rivet the anchor nuts on. We dimpled one anchor nut, which is this one. We have to dimple the other 2 now. Here's one. See if I can't show you the whole thing here. The dimple has to go towards that, up towards that threaded part. That's pretty reasonable there. And then squeeze like Billy-O, and there you go. And then the other one. Right there. Okay, so that's 2 of them. And here's the third one. Pull him over there. These ones are fairly easy to dimple. The single-legged ones have a little bit of a strengthening rib formed into them when they're made, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to dimple. But anyway, let's stop there and I'll get ready to rivet them on. Just to get ready to put these anchor nuts on, okay, I've clecoed the anchor nuts in place. What I will do is I'll take a screw, one of my 8-gauge screws, yeah, put a little bit of Vaseline on it, because these anchor nuts, when they're brand new like this, they're really quite tight, and they put up a bit of a fight. So a little bit of Vaseline goes a long way. And I'll just start the screws off in each of those positions. Believe it or not, those clecos will spread out of the way enough to get the screw to start, and then we'll just wind it in with battery drill. Battery drill on low speed would be probably a better option. Like that. Now the screw will hold the anchor nut hard up against the back of the material. Perfect. While we put the rivets in. Let's keep going here a little bit. This is the one-legged one. One-legged ones typically put up even a bigger fight. Sure enough, this one's not disappointing. There we go. And the lucky last here, which will go right there. Right. So now, well, now all of those clecos could come out, because the screw's actually holding the anchor nut in place. But we'll just take them out one at a time. Now, we take one of these rivets and pop in here, and the way rivets work is you should have about two rivet diameters sticking out. Okay, if you've got less than that, they're just going to squash the head on the rivet and squash the tail. This is the head on this side. This is the tail on this side. The tail's just going to squash and it's not going to hold anything. And if it's too long, it'll just bend over like an old nail or something. I've taken the Tatco squeezers and I've changed the jaws out from the dimple dies to these flat dies. Here's the dimple die set here, yeah, with a male and a female. Yeah, you might be able to work that out. Yeah, and I changed it out for two flat ones. These flat ones come in all different sizes, but this lower jaw here is threaded and it's adjustable. You can wind it out, wind it in for bigger or smaller rivets. So let's try and squeeze up that one rivet that we just put in there. Where are we? Can we see that? Not quite. How about we adjust the camera then? Now we can. Yeah, so I'm pushing the material down onto the lower jaw, up against the lower rivet set, and then we squeeze it up. And I need a bit more horsepower, so okay, that's done a half decent job. And well, how do you know if it's squeezed sufficiently or not? Well, right about here is a tool that is like a go, no-go gauge. It should not fit over the rivet tail. This one, if you forced it, it would go. So that needs a little tiny bit more. I've already squeezed it as much as this current situation would allow. I'm now going to wind this jaw out so this gap is smaller. I'm going to wind that jaw out by half a turn. That's all. That's it. No way this gauge is going to fit over that now. Also, if this was on a flat surface, you've got this side of the gauge. Yeah, you can see that. And that shouldn't slip over the top. Well, this is not a fair test for it because they're not at the same height. I need something that's at this height. But you've got two purposes to this gauge. This gauge is for number 3 rivets. There's one for number 4s, number 5s, so on. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do these others. One more item that I just remembered. Here's our rivet that we want to put in, which hasn't been squeezed yet. And each time we turn this around, the rivet just wants to fall out. Oh, get another one, put it in. And oops, it'll fall out again. How do we stop that? Especially if you've got a whole suite of rivets. Well, what you do then is you use this stuff called magic tape. This is a mylar tape. It's called magic tape here in Australia. It's a 3M product. But we just take a bit of that and you can stick the rivet in with it. Just stick it over the head and the rivet won't fall out. Yeah, there we go. Oh, so you just use sticky tape? No. If you just try this with ordinary sticky tape, I guarantee you're going to wind up with a squashed mess. Normal sticky tape doesn't take stress at all. Whereas this stuff, Absolutely fabulous. And if you wanted to, you can peel it off and use it again. This one might not be too good, it's got oil in it. But yeah, it lasts, it's really strong and lasts really well. Does this job perfectly. That's it. I'll go ahead and put these others in and then we'll install this and see how it looks. And here's our finished item with the 3 screws installed in the 3 locations that I said we would. And that's it. I'll go ahead and do the others and that'll be perfect. Love it. Right, just to close this video out, I went ahead and fitted all the anchor nuts to this wing. Of course, I've still got the other wing to do yet. It's partially done. I'll fit the cover and let you see what it looks like with the cover on in a couple of minutes. But basically, the anchor nuts are all in. There are the covers there. And yeah, there you go. Beautiful day outside, absolutely superb. Yep. I've got this door, I've got one hanger door closed over a bit so that it shows up a bit better on the video. With the door open you can't see very well. Here's the finished product with all the screws in. Obviously it's got to be painted. Around the edge, around the edges there'll be some rubber, just a little U-shaped channel that goes around the edge, protects the fabric, because the fabric will be sitting right there, right where my hand is, and this will be sitting on top of the fabric. So yeah, looks pretty good. The other one will be better, simply because I know a few of the pitfalls on this one, but they're both quite acceptable. The other one, I'm probably going to try and incorporate the pedo tube into that cover, and I reckon I can do it. And I purely chose the left wing to do that because it's closer to where the instruments are located. So from this one, I'll run through these ribs, and this is where the wing connects at the front end at the cabane struts, and it'll run the pedo tubing. The tubing from the pedo to the instrument will run down that cabane strut and into the instrument. But anyway, that's it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that long video on fitting some anchor nuts. I enjoyed making it. I'm not getting any better at making videos, as you can see. The sound and the video quality are pretty ordinary. But I enjoy what I'm doing, and I enjoy showing what I'm doing. Now, on that subject, if there's something you want to see, or how do you do this or how do you do that, then just put it in the comments, and I'll do my best to demonstrate to you whatever it is, whatever the subject is. It probably won't be any higher quality than this video, unfortunately, but I'll do the best I can, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.